Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our next episode of the Property Investment Australia podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Lachlan, Vidler, and I'm joined, as I always am, in this studio on this somewhat rainy day by Mr. Will Sanchez.
Hello, mate.
Mate, what's going on?
Yeah, same old hustling.
Hustling. Start of the new fin year.
Oh, yes.
See what I did there? Fin year?
Yeah.
We're so busy we can't even call it financial. You've got to
really
shorten
good.
it up.
It's really good.
Yeah?
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, how's it been going? 2 weeks in? Couple weeks in?
Yeah. We've got some new stuff.
Yeah.
Which is good. Training more people.
Yep.
Trying to get more deals through. Expanding the team. I think it's always the plan.
Yep.
So yeah, focused on that as well.
Focused on that. Yeah.
Mm.
It's going well though.
It's going well. Just hard because now we just got to train more people. So
Yeah.
it's more time towards training. But it's good.
One step back for 2 steps forward.
Correct.
From time point of view more than anything else.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. You?
Mate,
I've seen some photos on Instagram. What's that about?
Well, mate, it's my journey from E-grade celebrity to D-grade celebrity. It's
what's happening? Tell us.
That's what one of the boys in the office was saying the other day. Oh, it's I think I mentioned it on one of our earlier episodes, but I've obviously joined as one of the cast on a big Channel 9 property show, Budget Battlers. So that's going to be coming out prime time, 7:30, I think, later in the year. And we've been doing our filming, so we've done a couple of weeks worth of filming already, which is very exciting. We've helped some people in some really tough circumstances. But mate, it's been absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited for the show to come out.
When does it come out?
It'll be end of the year, so I don't know if it's actually been the actual physical day yet has been scheduled, but to my understanding, it should be around that prime time slot. So
nice.
It's been interesting. Hey, it's been interesting. We've definitely had some people coming in who heard me either talk about on podcasts or on my socials or through some other things I've been doing where it's sort of been known about. And it's interesting, like you do these things and some people just like it's great for credibility, right? Like they know that obviously we're doing really great things. We're getting great results for clients on the Atlas front. So it's really interesting to have people come in and say, "Oh, I heard you doing this, or I saw you doing that." And So anyway, long story short, mate, it's been really busy. Like we've had we had a crazy end to the financial year, and a shotgun start to the new financial year. So
that's a good problem.
Yeah, it's a good problem.
Absolutely.
You know what? I would say I'd even go so far as to say right now, it's not even a problem.
Yeah,
it's just a circumstance.
Yeah,
driving forward. It's life.
Life happens.
Yeah, but mate, no, we've had just to round it out. It's my chance to kind of give a bit of a pump up for my team as well. We've had some awesome things going on. We've built out. I briefly mentioned it at the back of our last episode, but we've recently built out, readjusted our brand new portfolio modeling platform. So everybody knows we have an awesome tech stack at Atlas that we built out from scratch. None of it white labeled. Heaps of stuff. We've got our suburb research tool, which has over 450 million data points in it, probably approaching 500 million now. And then one of the newest things we've added is our portfolio modeling platform. So, we did a lot of portfolio modeling beforehand, but it wasn't as detailed as it could have been. Like we were limited with our previous platform that we utilized. But this new one, we built it from scratch for ourselves. So the beauty is we can make changes and adjustments whenever we want to it. And the clients who have jumped onto it already over the last 2 to 3 weeks, they have said it's absolutely crazy for them being able to see what it can do, how it's really setting themselves up for designing their portfolio, and then just overall the experience they get working with us, having access to that type of platform. It's just been insane. It's been insane.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. You sold me.
You sold you.
I've got itchy feet.
You got itchy feet.
I want to have a look, yeah.
Well, mate, why don't we jump into the episode today? And we're going to be talking about something that I'm sure a few people are going to maybe scratch their heads at. And it's why chasing deals is actually costing you more than you think, right? I'm sure some people are going to think, well, we've got to chase deals. What's going on? But that is my episode, our episode. It's not my episode.
That's a good title.
Yeah? You like it? Well, should we jump in?
Yeah.
Rip in?
Yeah.
So something I find really, really interesting is that a lot of people have this notion that the only way to be successful at property investing is that they have to land the bargain, below market, off market type deal. And if they don't get that, they may as well not even start, right? When I guess the end for the episode is that really it's not about that. And we have to look a little bit more deeply at it, that there are a lot more factors that go into whether it's a good deal or not. And I don't want to ruin them all now. I've got to leave something for people to listen to, but real wins don't necessarily come from buying the cheapest property, right? Real wins come from something else. Yeah?
Drum rolls. Yeah.
I'm not going to give away yet. We want people to listen. We don't want people to tune out, after 5 minutes into the episode because they think they've already got it. This isn't the Spark Notes podcast. This is the full Monty, right? For me, I think something I really want to try and a myth to dispel is that if you're not getting some crazy off-market, below-market deal, that you're doing it wrong, right? It's not about that whatsoever, sorry. Winning portfolios are built on great fundamentals and long-term thinking. That's what portfolios are built on. It's not built on the one cracking deal that you think you're going to get, right? And that's the key, because people who've been doing it long enough know that whilst you do make your money going into a deal, finding that 1 in a million deal doesn't really happen that often. The best and smartest people are the ones that are long-term thinkers and that are supported by great fundamentals. I mean, in our last episode, I feel like we spent half the episode talking about great fundamentals, right? So
it feels that way.
It feels, we're still on it, right? So it's not about trying to beat the market. It's about building something that's sustainable and scalable, that has that great fundamentals, because nobody's gotten rich in real estate from one single deal of the standard that we're talking about, right? I'm not obviously talking about like some big $1 billion deal, right? Talking about nobody, no mum and dad, no regular everyday Australian has gotten rich of one single property deal, and then it's happened over the space of 2 or 3 years, right? Nobody has done that.
Yeah, even because if it is a deal too good to be true.
Yeah, probably is.
It is.
Yeah. So I think that the place that I want to start first is kind of the myth of the perfect deal, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that off-market doesn't always mean undervalued. It just means it's not listed, right? I can't tell you the amount of times. I'll be interested in your perspective because you see it differently, or you have probably a different version of the conversation to what we do or what I do. Everybody comes in and they're like, I just want to get an off-market property. Find me an off-market property. I want to get that. And there's this perception that like off-market is the be-all and end-all, and that like off-market is the single best type of property that you can have. What do you hear on your side of the fence when people come to you maybe to get their pre-approval done or something like that? What do you hear from people when they talk about this?
Well, firstly, the majority of people don't even know what that is.
Really?
They go on to realestate.com, domain.com, and that's the source of truth.
Yeah.
And that's what they try to find. That's the initial thought. Then for us, we instruct them to expand their vision. Say, well, think about things outside the box. Like there's off-market properties, there's this and that. Have you tried these avenues? Most people don't even know what that is. When I'm talking bulk.
Yeah.
If you're super savvy, if you've done this 1, 2, 3, 4 times, you know the value, you understand what they are.
Yeah.
You go for that. But that's not where the majority of people are. The majority of people are starting out, right? And these people don't know what the difference is.
Yeah.
Why? Well, they don't even know. They usually, to list a property on realestate.com, you pay $5,000 to $7,000 just to list your property. So what does it tell you as a buyer? That's going to cost you more if you buy after the fact.
Yeah.
So that's something. But we try to educate them.
Do you find then that when people maybe they've bought a deal or something, a property, do you find that then there can be a bit of an obsession with an off-market deal later? Do you ever find that on your side?
Yeah, well, people are starting to be more educated, that's for sure, especially after the introduction of our friend ChatGPT and the likes.
Yeah.
Yeah, people do come to us asking for that, but guess what?
Yeah.
That's not what we do.
Yeah.
I don't have off-market properties. I don't find properties for clients.
Yeah.
We do understand the value. We understand how to guide you and point you in the right direction and introduce you to the right people.
Yeah.
But certainly, if you're looking for off-market properties, chances are you're not going to do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. It's something that like it always like it makes me laugh, right? Sometimes we'll get into a conversation with a client and they'll say, but like, why are you presenting us an on-market property? Like, why aren't you presenting us an off-market? And obviously we present lots of off-markets. I don't want anyone to get confused about that. But, you know, like we also present on-market deals. Like you can't find every single property off-market, right? And we'll say to the client, like, you know, something along the lines of, we didn't think the sticker mattered.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was about the deal.
Yep.
Does it really matter if the property's advertised? Surely it matters if it's a sound deal with sound fundamentals.
I was going to say, so long as the fundamentals are there.
Right? And then as soon as we say that to people, you'd be surprised how many sort of then just like kind of pause for an awkward amount of time, kind of realizing that like, oh, I guess that really is true. It really doesn't matter where it's come from. It just matters that it's a sound deal.
It makes sense.
Right?
The numbers stack up.
Yeah. And that's it, right? And we find that like from that point of view of like, you know, kind of myth of the deal that like the only way to buy is an off-market property. Like if you don't do that, if you're not chasing that off-market property, it's silly, right? But it's not the case, right? And I feel like the other one is also below market, right? Like we buy a lot of properties below market, right? I'd say we buy probably the vast majority of our properties below market. And that's why we're not just some big pump and dump.
When you call below market, you mean below market value?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We're not just some big pump and dump buyer's agency that we just find any old property and put in front of you, right? Like we take a lot of time, and any client who's been through our process knows they'll get a 50-page property report, right? They'll get a 50-page property report from us when we're presenting a deal to them, right? But a lot of people think that, you know, or maybe not a lot of people think, a lot of people confuse the fact that below market doesn't guarantee performance. Like you could just be buying somebody else's problem, right? And that's why they don't want to list it, because they don't want to have to deal with putting it on the market, having exponentially more people through the property, exponentially more questions and issues raised about a deal, right? And it's not always surface level. Like we're not always talking like the property is in like a dilapidated state or something like that. We could be talking about other issues at play here. Maybe it's power lines nearby. Maybe it's high voltage.
But I think I mentioned to you the other day.
Yeah.
I had a client once and they bought a unit. They wanted to buy a unit.
Yeah.
They were in two minds whether to buy or not. And then 100,000 discount on a property. 100,000 discount. I said to him, I said, well, at the end of the day, you know there's an issue with the balcony. They've told you there's an issue, and that's why they're giving you a discount.
Yeah.
So it's up to you whether you want to proceed or not. I think he ended up buying it.
Do you know how it panned out?
Nah.
Nah?
It's good. I'll chase him, double check. But again, you're buying someone else's problem.
Yeah.
If you think maybe if you're a builder, if you work in the industry and you know there's value, it's a different proposition, right?
Yeah.
But the majority of times you're looking for that sort of 1 in a million deal. We know you're buying someone else's issue.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big issue that comes around, right? And that's why this whole myth of the deal, like it's, you know, we buy a lot under market because we are professionals and we can go to the agent and we can present a really concise case study almost of why we're presenting an offer that we are, right? And then the benefits that come from an agent point of view or a vendor point of view of working with us is they know that we're no nonsense. They know that we want to get the deal done, right? We're going to protect the client, but we want to get the deal done, right? And we're pragmatic about that. Like they know that instead of speaking with some nervous first home buyer that doesn't know what's going on, that even if it's a nervous first time investor, they can talk to us and we can translate and we can make our client understand whether or not it would be smart to proceed or whether it is better to
it's called
terminate.
Best interest duty. Right?
Exactly right, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in our industry, there isn't a best interest duty in the same way that there is in mortgage broking. But, you know, I mean, I know as a business, we operate off an idea of a best interest duty, right? But most people they're like, and it doesn't mean that we buy every single property below market value. We obviously don't overpay for deals, but sometimes fair value is a good deal, right? Especially if you're in a rising market. And we were talking about that in the last episode. Buying a property at fair value that's a good property, good fundamentals, good area,
It's a good result.
It's a good result, right? And we'll talk in a minute about what deal chasing actually costs you. But, like ultimately, a lot of people can overrate the win that they feel that they get by buying what they think is cheap for, whether or not that asset is actually a good asset to own, like, and if it fits their plan, because, you can be in this circumstance where like, you could take it to the nth degree of this example and say, we're talking about the mining towns and people go, I'm buying super cheap and I feel like it's great because I can say I own 10 properties, but they were worth, $100,000 each. So it's not really like, are you owning $1 million of quality assets or are you owning $1 million of like kind of crappy assets, right? But it's the same thing here, like your example, 100,000, you can bet they've gone to the barbecue and told all their friends about how they were so good at negotiating. They got $100,000 off this deal, right?
Half truth.
Right? Exactly. It's a half truth. And all their mates now reckon that they are absolute guns at property. And you can bet that they're going to have at least one or two friends that when they go to buy a property, they're probably going to ask that client of yours that's their friend, say, oh, what can you give us some tips? Like, look at this, you know what I mean? But what hasn't obviously been told is that problem, maybe they inherited a $150,000, $200,000 problem.
Yeah.
And something not to forget either is that just because they reduced the purchase price by $100,000, if they were going to take an 80% mortgage, they've only saved themselves probably 20 grand of cash.
Mascot Towers, remember that one?
Yeah. But where I'm going with this is, let's say that the problem to fix was 100,000. They've probably only saved themselves 20 grand, maybe a bit more if you talk about stamp duty and all the rest, right? We'll just ignore that because, that's when you start to go down the rabbit hole. They've still got to find 80 grand to fix that gap up because it's not like they can go to the bank and say, I want a bigger loan even though you valued the property at what you valued it at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people forget that at times. They go, oh, yeah, I got the discount of 100 grand, but it doesn't actually match, in that sense anyway of fixing the issue. But, my good friend, I don't want to drag anyone along for any longer. I want to now talk about what deal chasing actually costs you. And
Interesting.
We have seen this time and time again, right? It costs people so much more time and money than they ever realize, right? And for me, the biggest thing that comes from chasing the deal when we're talking about what gets lost and what it costs you is how the time and money side comes together. I have seen so many clients sit there and we present them a deal and it might be, from our analysis, what we believe is either 15 to 20K below market value or it's around fair market value. And they're going, no. We paid you guys to find us this like insane deal. We need it to be minimum 30 grand below market value, 40 grand below market value. Keep in mind, if we're buying a $600,000 property or a $700,000 property, 30 grand is a big chunk. Like 30 grand off 1.5 million is a lot less than 30 grand off 600,000, right? And they say no to a deal. We go, all right, fair enough. And then we're now looking for the unicorn for them. It might take 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And that same $600,000 property
now costs what?
Well, that same property might now cost them $660,000. That same one,
and we see it.
Yeah. Right. Come on, surely you got a story.
Yeah, there's always one.
Yeah, come on, give us a story. Give us a story.
No, I think I mentioned the previous episode because it's pretty recent.
Yeah.
We had a client. They were buying a property for around, it was 900 to $1 million. They were looking for an owner-occupier property, and they could not find a property.
Yeah.
Simply could not. They went to heaps of open homes and blah blah blah, auctions, not one. Couldn't get the deal done. So I introduced the conversation of, working with a buyer's agent because it wasn't a really well-known concept. Plus, when you've got restricted cash to put towards an owner-occupier purchase, you think, is it worth it? I can do it myself.
Yeah.
But they were really good customers. But they said, you know what? Let's give it a try. They did it. Hired a buyer's agent. Within 2 days, they exchanged unconditionally unconditionally. It was Northern Beaches.
Yeah.
Unit in Northern Beaches. They could not find something. They came across a buyer's agent, introduced, and they got it done. Like 2 days, I kid you not. And it's a good property, good, formally approved within 2 days. Valuation came back, purchase price, really everything stacked up.
Wow.
Yeah, just that value proposition. I think more than ever, if a broker doesn't know how to operate with trusted buyers agents, they're going to be left behind in this market.
100%. Well, and I think it goes to say there, like, they probably got a worse property than they would have if they had done that the months prior, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I guess a different version of what we see as well is that when people then also start to focus on novelties instead of fundamentals, right? And they're not focused on ultimately the performance that's meant to come from the property, right? I'll give you an example, right? There are always people chasing some absolute unicorn aspect where it's not just about buying below market value, right? It could be like, oh, I want a property that's going to give me like a residential property that's going to give me like a 9% yield, you know? Like in the current environment, I have to be cash flow positive, right? Or oh no,
I have to.
Yeah. or oh no, I've heard these are really good deals because I don't know, maybe say NDIS, like, oh, I'm getting all this rent, you know, it's backed by the government, it must be really good and all the rest. But they go and ignore fundamentals. They go and chase this other type of deal that's like where numbers are being shown to them that aren't necessarily reflective of what the actual scenario is going to be. And NDIS is a classic example of that.
Unless you really understand the asset in the program.
Yeah. But most people don't. I reckon 1% of people actually properly understand, say, something like NDIS, right? Yeah. And the trouble is people go and market these properties. They'll be like, oh, you're going to be $100,000 of cash flow out of this one property. And it's only going to cost you $750 or something, right? But what they fail to mention is like not every room is always filled. When rooms are filled, it doesn't necessarily always get the rent that's attracted. Like there's always these circumstances that happen to the vast majority of these people that go and do something like, say, NDIS, where they never come close to achieving the rent that they're aiming to get. They've chased the deal from a rent point of view. They're now not getting
cash flow position.
Yeah. They're now not even getting the growth because now it's a niche down NDIS property. It's, you know, like the house is built differently. You know, a lot of people don't want to go buy the house that's got the, you know, the wider hallways and things like that, where it's clearly been done to help somebody with a disability, but it doesn't make like attractive living to somebody who isn't living with a disability. And now suddenly they've got this lemon asset that they were focused on because they were deal hunting, and they've put themselves in a really tough position, you know. And then it comes down to the time side where, you know, the below market type deal is an easy example, or even just a flat general off market that makes sense. You are months and months and months down the road and you've now just lost out. You've lost out. It's as simple as that, right? Like,
yep, absolutely.
You know, if you're
time is a valuable asset
for sure.
these days.
For sure. And if you're in a market that's actually performing, like you could feasibly lose 10%.
Yeah.
Or sorry, the property goes
Miss
up
out,
10%. Yeah. Like, and then you're then missing out on
cost.
that. Exactly right.
Yeah.
And yeah, oh man, it really winds me up. Like I've got so many examples that I could give about that. But like we have a client right now that's been with us for like, I reckon like 9 months. We're the longest client we've ever had. The only client.
Looking for deals for 9 months. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And the problem is that...
Well, that's bad news, isn't it?
The problem is that like they keep changing what it is that they want, right? And this is the thing. When we go work with a client, we're very upfront with them. We say, this is what we want to do for you. And we get, and then they agree to it or we, you know, we obviously all walk away, right? Before we even get into a circumstance like this. But the problem is that this client continues to flip-flop on what it is that they want at complete contravention of what we're saying to them.
Changing the goalpost all the time.
Every single time. And like we've even had conversations with this person like we're happy to just end this relationship. Like and they're like, no. We know that you're the best ones to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but like you then won't listen to us. And like, there's also been other things that have gone in, like, you know, changes in financial circumstances and stuff that's meant like
that's the problem.
Approvals have had to go and be redone and things like that. So it hasn't just been 9 months of like waiting for a deal. But I've never had a client that long, never. But the problem with this client is the changing of the goalposts because they're not focused on performance. They're hunting this immaculate deal that doesn't exist. And 1 minute it'll be, I want this duplex because I want the cash flow. Then it's no, but I want I want this house. I want the house. I want the regular, nothing interesting house. That's a good solid performer because it's the start of her portfolio. Then it's no. I really, really want to be in the WA market. Like I don't care about anything else. I have to be there. It's no. Now it's got to be Victoria. And it's just like
it's constant.
It's like every couple of weeks it's a new thing, So, but that's what happens with the deal chasing. This client has missed out. Like we had a vow come.
Or 9 months if you think about it. One of our mutual clients, within 9 months, they got $150,000 in equity.
That's literally what I was going to say. This is the 6 month valuation we did for them, right? $150,000, right?
Yeah,
and all it's come down to is this client is chasing the deal rather than focusing on advice from professionals around her. Because she also has a broker. Inherited.
That's why. That's why it's not my client.
But even the broker has said to us, like I have told her. Every deal you put in front of her, I've told her to take because every deal has made a lot of sense. And still, it's not happening. So ultimately, that person pays a price, right?
Yeah.
And that's with a professional. Think about how many people are in that boat when they're just doing it themselves,
Not only that, the money she paid towards your services could be in a savings account on a term deposit or
Literally.
something.
You know what the only saving grace for her is? Because she's been on for around sort of that 8 to 9 months. The price she paid for our service is a lot cheaper than what it is now. So that's the only saving grace for her right now is the savings she's made there. But from my point of view, like I guess the message that we're trying to give is that like to win, it isn't necessarily about buying this crazy $50,000 below market value deal, or it has to be an off market deal or something like that. It's about having a property that fits your strategic needs, not just some short term, and I put in inverted commas, like a win, where you feel like you've got to win, right? Mm-hmm. It's not about that. It's about having that long-term strategic fit because a high-quality property in a strong market is always going to beat what feels like the deal of a century in a poor market with poor fundamentals, but you feel like you feel like you're, some big guy or girl that's got the win over the vendor today, right? That's what wins, right? Like the top investors are the people who understand that property is a long-term game. It is not a 1 or 2 year endeavor. And if it aligns with your portfolio, it fits your strategic goals, you have all those fundamentals in place, you are going to make money in the short term, but you're going to make way more money in the long term. And that is where it really gets to, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree?
100%. I think that's the value of investing in property.
Right?
No, absolutely.
I think somebody said to me, which I 100% agree with. What somebody said to me in my very, very early days of being around property, right? Like from an investment and professional point of view, was they said to me, you always need to remember that every single property is a stepping stone, not a trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them. Because in isolation, none of them are likely to make you rich. Because at the end of the day, if you're in a position that you can buy a $10 million deal, your goals are probably also relatively higher than like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Because like for somebody buying a $500,000 property might feel like just as much of a win to somebody else who's buying that $10 million property. But that person with a $500,000 property, their goals are going to be a lot more moderate than the person with a $10 million property, right? And when I was told that, I thought, you know what? That is so true. Because if you take each one of those steps, think of it like a pond, like you got literally stone steps. If you picked up one of those steps and you looked at it, you'd think it's nothing special. But when you put all those steps down and then you can walk over those steps to get to the end goal, suddenly each step looks incredible.
Yeah.
But when you pick it up and look at it right in front of your face,
it means
it's nothing special.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a long-term thing, my friend.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So chasing deals, we're definitely not advocating to go and spend overs and blow your money and to not try and fight for the best deal possible. What we're advocating for is buying the right asset in the right market with the right fundamentals. And if you pay a fair price for that, you're going to be winning in the long term. You're absolutely going to be winning in the long term.
Yeah. And it's good. A shout out to one of your team members, Chanel, because I spoke to an agent not long ago, and they said she is a gun. She's a little gun. She tries to win. She makes like really good offers, and she tries to squeeze on the price.
Yeah.
So good shout out to her.
Oh,
I was meant to. Yeah, I haven't told her that.
She'll be very rapt to have a shout out on the podcast.
Yeah, Chanel, that's for you. Hey.
But it's the point, right? She understands, same as everyone else in the team, that we do our analysis, we understand the left and the right, but getting the deal done at the right price that the client understands, that makes sense, is a lot better than continuing to miss out forever.
Yes.
Because you're haggling over $1,000.
Yeah.
You know? Even $5,000 at times, right? When it's the right deal and it still fits the parameters of the deal, you'd much rather own that property, because otherwise you might be missing out on $150,000 like our story from before, you know?
That one, oh my God.
All right, guys. That's our episode today, right? Don't focus on chasing the deal. Work hard, but focus on having the fundamentals in the deal. That is what's most important. Now, when it comes to being able to put yourself in a position to do that, you're going to need a mortgage. And no one's better at that than Will and the team over at Aussie Newtown. All right. So, guys, his details are in the episode bio. Go and have a chat with Will if you need help on that front. And if you are looking to find somebody who can chase the deal for you, but know when it's right and when it's not, come and have a chat with myself and the team at Atlas Property Group, right? atlaspropertygroup.com.au. Our details are in the bio as well. Come and have a chat. If you need a portfolio review, because maybe you have bought a few of those properties where you did deal chase and maybe they're not right, you can also come and do a portfolio review with us. That's just atlaspropertygroup.com.au/portfolio review. But otherwise, guys, please drop those 5-star reviews. We really love it. It sends us up the charts, gets more listeners in. Send that feedback through to us as well. But until next time, thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you.
This is a Piccolo podcast production.